All right, so here in this stock round, we're beginning to see the players divesting themselves of those certificates that they don't think are worth holding on to. In particular, this one, the BBCI. The president of that has dumped a share of that to pick up. He picked up the loose MSM that was out there, which may not be the best purchase out there, but it was the one that's the hardest to get to replace, and it's a good company running a permanent train and potentially for more for a little while until that first 5 train comes out. Second player did not have to drop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 certificates still after having picked up a GIP. The GIP looks like a good deal, not just because it's at a higher price. The SIR is also at a higher price, but because it looks like it's making more money than the SIR. The problem with it is it doesn't have a permanent train, whereas the SIR has only a very cheap train and may actually have enough cash. In fact, I know it does as the president of that, but this player does not. It looks like it likely has enough money to reach a permanent train and thus be continually in its position without any real problems. The only difficulty here is both of these, the GIP and the SIR, are vulnerable to being dumped. The president owns another company, and he could favor that other company. Especially dangerous in the case of the SIR, where it's only 3 shares holding for that, and the NWR, where he has 4 shares, is kinda not a tremendously valuable looking company right now, although it's going to be making good stock value. So consolidating his purchasing power into one corporation might be a wise move. Of course, it means giving up an extra certificate if he trashes the SIR. All right, let's go on around the table. We've done the first. If groupthink takes play in the game, GIPs are running low. Better get them while they're hot. A couple of people bought them, so a couple more bought them, including the guy who owns the SIR. But he's the person least worried about getting shut out of that. He'll be able to get his 4th share pretty easily. We see people filling out their holdings. This guy didn't have a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's at 10 now as well. But there are people who are at their 11 certificates. For example, this guy, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And they had to drop a certificate to help their situation. And we'll go around and maybe do that again. Question sort of becomes, well, what do you want to drop? Do you want to drop the BBCI, which may make some money, or the BNR, which probably won't, but will also probably end up coming out of its hole quicker and may be very valuable very soon, so that certificate may not be too bad to have in hand. Of course, these things are going to lose some stock value, but they're going to regain that. So holding them is better than not filling your portfolio, is what I'd say. Things reach a kind of interesting and kind of tricky position, because these 2 players have sold their BNRs. This guy has sold 1. Everyone else is eligible to buy them. Which means, say, if someone had room in their portfolio and really wanted to control the BNR under a manager, they could buy shares of them up, get the president's certificate, and then try to outweight this guy. Now, if this guy sells down to 2 shares, which is likely, or 1 share, which he's going to eventually have to do to drop it into management, that becomes even more attractive. It becomes a question then of, well, what can you pick up? Because if you're picking up a BBCI for a good share, maybe you're better off not going for the manager. The manager is very valuable to this fella here. It might be valuable to the owner of the ECR, and he has sold one already, so he can't use that. I'm not sure that it's terribly valuable to anyone else. The SIR, I don't think the the BNR is going to do a lot of good for the SIR here. It could build some track heading out this way and help them link up perhaps. But for the most part, and actually I don't think you can spend money on anything except purchase of a train. Let's look under managers. A manager can't spend any other expenses. This restricts it to build track where it's not going to have terrain effects. So I can't even build track through here to try to speed things up. The terrain's too lousy there. So there isn't a lot that the BNR can do for anybody who can get it. The only real question then is taking it out of his hands. And how much value is that? Is he in the lead? Probably not, with all these shares of BNR that he's been choking on for a little bit. So I don't think anybody's going to take that move. But it's something to keep in mind that if you do decide to put a company into receivership, everyone else kind of has an opportunity to take that receivership ownership away from you. If they're willing to expend some stock actions on it and perhaps end up losing out on the best shares that they could have. Okay, so this is where we're at actually, and the elephant has stayed over here. Now this is kind of strange. This guy bought the last certificate, an SIR. All the certificates that are deemed safe have been bought up. Most people have a share each of BBCI and BNR. This guy does not have a BNR. He kept a BBCI, but he had to sell the presidency of the BBCI after that last certificate purchase. But that doesn't count against you for the elephant. Unlike most games, in 53, and this was pointed out to me because I missed it in the rules overview, you can sell shares and it doesn't affect the end of the round and who gets the elephant. I hope. We could. Oh no, he has to sell. I haven't gotten around to him. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's going to have to sell his 2 shares of BNR as well. Now he's going to maintain the managership just as he's maintained the managership of his company. I have to give that money. That's the big $260 into his hand, and then we'll be pushing forward into the operating round. The elephant is worth a hell of a lot right now to this guy. His BBCI presidency is sitting in there, and he can pick it up for that. So he's not going to offer it for sale. Somebody who really would like it is the guy who has the BNR managership, because the next guy in line is going to be able to buy that certificate. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and he's got room for another certificate after that. But basically the first person to buy a second share of something is going to become the director. And that is a powerful, powerful little piece right there, isn't it? There's nothing he can do about it, though, except offer money to a guy who has as much vested interest in selling the elephant. What this guy can't do is try to say, oh, okay, if you donate to me, to this guy, X amount of money, I'll sell the president. I won't sell the presidency. You can't make deals like that. He could sell the elephant directly to this guy, which would then hand one of the presidencies to him and one to him. This guy can't chip into that. This is a shame, because really it's the person in the second seat who may have a great interest in this. So for example, these 2 players may be able to give the first, may have had a desire to give the first player more money between them to move the presidency here than this guy. And in fact, this guy and this guy may have a joint deal that they would like to make, but they're not allowed to. And that's kind of a pity. Because it really feels like being, in this case, being the second guy to the elephant is almost as important as being the first guy, the guy who actually gets the elephant. Such is life. All right, so we'll go on and see how these companies perform. The owner to the EIR Made a run with this, paid out. Good money, 29 bucks a share, nice, sweet. He then gets to run his GIF, or GIP, and that's in serious trouble. You can see no permanent train. Well, he ended up buying a permanent train, but not much of one. A 3M for 430 bucks. That was after a swallow. Set up the metered rail here. It's possible he may move another train on there. This thing's going to be collecting significant money over time because it's got a good mail run. So it is conceivable that I could shift money over here buying that 4 train. I'm not going to get to see the 3 train because it's clear that the BNR is going to buy a 5 train in terms of the loan arrangement under receivership, and that's going to crash the trains. Even though that's different from most games how they handle loans of trains, it's not clearly specified in this one that no, they don't count as something other than a real purchase. So the GIP had to do something. They upgraded their track, and they're trying to set themselves up so they can run as much metered gauge track as they can, because the train is cheaper than anything else they can buy by a lot. That 830 is going to be a rough purchase when it comes down to it. But I don't want to lose the stock value and the continuous creation of some income while I watch all the trains crashing. And this is the best way to save things. Otherwise, you know, this is going to be 2, maybe 3 operating rounds. Well, 2 operating rounds, 1, maybe 2 operating rounds that I completely would lose out the income and the stock increases from the GIP. And that's unacceptable. It's also impossible that I can swallow with the GIP, but I could swallow with the EIR to produce enough cash to buy a train and then shift the additional train perhaps over to the GIP. And maybe even then have enough money that I can buy another train. Nah, that's not going to happen. But there's going to come some point where another train is going to be generated between those two. And I think the GIP is going to get it just because it has the 2 track types and it doesn't have something that clearly works in terms of that 3M is just such crap. Whereas the 4 train or a 5 train is very workable for the EIR. In fact, its track doesn't really go anywhere right now. You can see we upgraded this for some additional income coming in and a better mail run as well. All right, that puts us over on, what is this? The NWR, who has a permanent train. BNR hits its wall and has to borrow a train. That happens during the purchase phase. I had no train. Got to lay some track, did a quick upgrade. Can't spend any money on it. Can't make my run, but I do get to go back in my stock value, and that's beginning to look a little painful. And that wiped out the whole train lifespan for so many companies. Forgot that one. You can see what we've got now. No train, just one train, one train, one train, no train, one crappy ass metered train. Not good. All right, that puts us over on the next one that is in receivership over here without a present certificate out. The other no trains are going to be able to run. Now, see, here's the thing. This guy, even if he succeeds in running, still, I think, has to swallow his money. He's not allowed to pay dividends, if I remember correctly. He must not declare a dividend, so it's going to be, it could quite possibly have a good stockpile of cash. He also can't buy stations or track until after the train's bought, but he can buy them before the train is bought. Now, or after the train is bought. But he's not necessarily going to be in fact, is unlikely to be the president at the end of all this, that's going to go over to this guy. Does that matter? Well, a little bit. It means he's building a track that somebody else is going to get the advantage for, maybe more in the long run, but that's hard to tell. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shares of the company in the stock pool. One person is going to definitely buy a BBCI, I believe, to grab the presidency of that, because he can't get the BNR presidency. He could have played with his stocks and bought a BNR. I'm not sure why he chose to stick with his own company, but whatever. It doesn't really make a difference. That's going to put the BNR over to him. But that's only one of the shares. There's 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if the BNR is the more attractive of the two companies, but there's the BBCI as well. And they're both going to have fairly nice runs and trains. They're going to be in better shape than maybe some of these other companies that are running right now for money. Phase change with that first 5 train out too. We took care of the deletions, which is part of what happened there. But we got gray tiles coming in, up. Train limit's only 2 trains per corporation, which isn't a problem right now. And after this set of operating rounds is done, we go to the full 3 per. We also loosen all the restrictions on where you can dot and where you can upgrade and stuff like that. So the companies have a lot more flexibility in terms of becoming more national rather than just these regional little companies dictated by these maps. There's still some restrictions, mainly to do with you have to run a train on anything outside your region on the first operating round when you do something of that nature. That can be actually kind of a hassle and might end up meaning that you make lower runs in some cases. Okay, so I guess we're on to the BBCI. I don't know what to do with that. Well, so the BBCI could take a narrow gauge train, but why at this point, right? What you want is one of these suckers. I think I also have the option at the 6 train. The 6 train becomes available when the first 5 train is purchased, as you notice here. Which means, gee, I could build something even bigger. Does that help me? 1, 2, see if I could connect through here or something, maybe. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be the best train that I could possibly do. The problem is, that's another $200 that I have to come up with. Let me try to do some quick math, because honestly, it doesn't really make a difference, because it's not going to be paying out with either train which one that I might be getting. My track is kind of set up, so I might want to do that. Apropos to this, and I know I mentioned this before but couldn't find the rule, a train can be obtained on credit if it's being run by a manager. If a director takes over a company which is buying a train on credit, the train either has to be purchased at that point or returned to the bank. I thought I had seen that somewhere, but it's buried somewhere I didn't look. Not somewhere unreasonable, just somewhere I hadn't looked. Even though I was looking for that specific rule because I remembered it, but couldn't find evidence of it before. So, yeah, this is a pretty serious question here. So let's see what I've got. I have the elephant, so I have control of how many runs I'm going to get. My run is going to make, presumably, let's see. How can I optimize? 1, 2, I can't go through there, so I'd have to upgrade either the city or this track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 train there. Or a 5 train here. Now this is worth only 40 right now, whereas this is worth 70. So let's do this run. So I'm going to make a mail run of $120 around. And I'm going to make 70, 110. That won't be that won't be a $30 space anymore if I upgrade that. That goes to a 102 or 103, which God knows what they're worth. They look like 30 buckers actually. Eventually it may go up, but let's just leave it at 30 for now because that'll give us some padding perhaps. So what was I saying? 70, 110, 140, 150, 180, 190, 200, 210, 260. So that's what I'm going to be swallowing each round, 380. Now I'm going to get 2, maybe 3 sales of that. I have another 160 bucks. So I can do 3. I can make it. Which means I can pick up the 6 train instead of the 5 train. Now the 6 train in this doesn't crush anything. But I get to decide which track lay I'm going to make, and I don't get to do a dot or anything like that. So which track lay do I want? It doesn't really matter too much at this point. I think I'll probably upgrade this sucker. Actually, it does matter a little bit. I probably can't do an upgrade up here. What is that? That's the first of the beige spaces there, which means that's this one. So I'm not going to be able to upgrade these guys until I have a train that I can run on them. And that will actually cut into my income if I do that. So let's do the upgrade here. And we're looking to maybe some kind of long-term being able to do those upgrades, but we may not be able to do them very quickly. Whacked out track here. The 103 tile, which I can actually use there, is a 40-buck tile. The 102 tile, which goes in all directions, is only a 30-buck tile. So you got these really weird choices in this game compared to some of the others. You want more tracks coming out? Okay, that's great. But if you want less tracks coming out, you can make more money. Now the question is, does the 103 upgrade? And the answer is yes, it goes to a 109, but the 102 does not. So I actually did the right choice because this is the one that can eventually upgrade to this sucker, which of course has a blank spot on it. Interesting stuff. And now those aren't restricted like in 1856, where certain trains are restricted to, sorry, peeking at my neighbors. I hate it when cars honk or whatever. I have to know what's going on. So unlike 1856 or some other games, there aren't like little tracks that are special and actually upgrade to higher value or whatever. Here, it's just kind of first come, first serve, and the tracks are significantly different from each other in a number of different ways. All right, well, we can't make any money off this. We can't place any dots. And we can go down in value because we've got shares here and we didn't pay. Purple just set itself up for a 21 run off of this 4 train. And that's more than twice the value of this. So we actually go out 2 for setting up for running double or more the value. We go up 2 spaces if we pay out, and we are. That's this run down here. And we're building track up into these doinkers, hoping to be able to extend our value. Another quicker extension would be to build Calcutta. I might want to do that. So I can always use something else to build this. I think I will. So we'll come up, that'll actually be more money than this was. Calcutta is going to cost us 60 bucks, which we easily have. So we get 20, 40 back, and I don't drip, I hope, on the board. And it's only the first time that there's an upgrade that you have to okay, so that's this one. And this one, it looks like. These little wooden pieces don't really fit on these tiny pieces. Okay, so that actually increases that run. It was 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15. I'm only getting 20 now. 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, sorry, 17, 18, 23 a share. That's not enough. Is it? 75 times 3? Nah, yeah, it is. Because that's 22 and a half a share. So I actually go up a 3rd space too. And I have to pay out a little bit more money and my run is a little bigger. Looks like it's 30 bucks bigger, 20 bucks bigger for my mail run. AR was of course out of train, so they had to buy one, and you can see their stock value didn't increase. It didn't go down because nobody sold it out, or nobody sold any of them to the bank pool. That puts it on the ECR, which stole the one CD gray tile. This means that Calcutta is going to be worth 100 and Delhi's just going to be stuck at 70 all game. That's an important how do the trains fall kind of decision here that is probably pretty hard to engineer correctly, but in this case it fell out nicely for purple and blue. And again, I was considering upgrading to go into there, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, this is important. They also made a 150 buck mail run, which I counted in 110, 20, 30, 60, 200, 210, 260. Is that all? 100, 10, 20, 30, 160, 200, 210, 260. Yeah, 260, which is more than double. So they go up 2 spaces, and I pay out 26. And that finishes up the first operating round. Remember, just one more, and then the optional. And I'm gonna have to turn the AC on. It's just getting too bad here. Well, AC's for wimps. I just put a little do-rag on, pretending to be a martial artist or something. Yeah. But at least it keeps the sweat from dripping on the board quite as much. And I can't find it here. It's like it's dripping. I know it is, but I can never find where it drips, and I don't see any signs of it anywhere. It's like it evaporates as soon as it hits. It's really not that hot here right now. It's a little over 90, but it's like really humid because it's monsoon season, and it feels kind of like those hot days in New Jersey did. Anyway, I've run through the first few companies here, red, orange, and black. I may have screwed up with orange and pushed it ahead an extra space because I cannot tell when I'm paying out or not. And yes, I should mar my wooden blocks, but it's annoying as hell, and I can't do that because my OCD says, well, what happens? I should put little stickers on them. I could pop them off if I needed to. Little white glue stick things or something. I don't know. Anyway. What we've got, really just optimization work going on, but there's a big question in mind constantly, like, will orange grab the red 4 train and then make red an unusable company so that everybody kind of doesn't want it? It's not like this guy can make more money by shifting things, but necessarily, unless he gets another train. But the question is, well, if he optimizes one of these 2 companies and then buys extra shares in one of these other ones that's kind of doing okay, because right now he has 3, 6, 9, 11, he's full, right? And most people are. Yet there's a bunch of certificates out there that are very valuable or will be very soon. So it's kind of, well, is it worth holding a company right now? You know, it might get better later, but right now, I don't know. The problem is that I'd have to steal the red train. And with those stock values, it's tougher because I'm gaining 20 bucks a pop with those, and I'm only gaining 5 or 7 a pop there. So each payout is a significant amount, even if I'm not making a huge amount of cash off the run itself. So I don't really want to give that up, but it's harder. I mean, I could steal this and then let that suck for a turn, and that wouldn't be horrible. But it's tough. It's a tough call to make. And I don't have to make it yet. And we've seen some optimization there with, let's see, upgrading, I think this, I don't know. Brown upgrade, or the black upgraded this space. He's thinking about trying to break through and get some more cash. He's got this tiny little run right here. This is all he can do. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's a doink. He can't get down here. I can't. There's no X's or anything. There's no more doinker green tiles left that I can find, except for narrow gauge ones that I can't use. So if I upgrade to a city, I'm not helping myself. I already hit a city. That's the problem. I was expecting to be able to cut through here and make it down there, and it's not happening. So that's kind of, well, actually I couldn't even make it the whole way. I'd still have to divert somewhere else. Now we're going to the companies that have been having trouble. The BNR and the BBC, the ones that are, or BBCI, the ones that are renting a train right now. Oh boy, I think I miscalculated with the BBCI. I don't think it's going to make it. I'm looking at the money it made. And it goes back one. All right, so some serious issues here with the... Oh, I bet you I was counting that I'd get this run when I wouldn't. That I'd get 3 total runs or something. Anyway, that's their loss. They're going to be screwed because of that, because they took this 6 train. 2, 3, 4, 5. And they don't even need it. They're only hitting a 5 right now. Although they upgraded here, the reason why, this is the last hex they could upgrade in. If we look over here, they could make it that hex, but they couldn't do it here, which I think is this hex. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's really hard to tell. This is a gray, this is a gray. This gray is this one, and it looks like one diagonal, that may be a gray. Shit, I don't think I could do it there. I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't do this upgrade. Crap. The 5 trains are out, so actually I could if I run my track on this one, which means I get even less money. Which is fine. I'm not going to make it anyway. I might as well. The plan is to drive the track down here so I can get to Calcutta instead of Delhi, because there'll be more money to be made in that route. But wow, that's going to be a rough bit of luck for them. Not really luck, just screwing up on calculations. Anyhow, I could not upgrade this space because had I done so, I wouldn't be able to run on any new track that I created on it. It wouldn't hook me up into anything. Actually, I'm not able to upgrade this, I don't think, either, because there's no new track that I'm running on. I'm running on the tile, though, so I don't know. I really hate the way these rules are. It just... There's so much more complicated ideas that aren't well described for this game. This is... You know, this is the opposite of every other Tresham game that I've seen, and this one records him as the designer. When you look at things like Revolution is a little more complex, but when you look at 1830, when you look at... I didn't read 1829's rules. When you look at Civilization, they're very, very clean and simple games. This one is just a mess. And, you know, this is the better version of it. Okay, so let's see. Where's the restriction here? Tile promotion. Temporal restrictions are removed. Companies with a 5 or 6 train can promote if they can reach it. A company promoting outside its home territory must include the affected tile in one of its train runs. Oh, so I could upgrade this instead. Or this instead. As long as I actually reach that tile. That's an interesting concept. I'm not sure which makes more sense. See, I get another doinker this way. So I'll do that, but I'm screwed anyway because of the cost. And now I gotta put a die on whoever's turn is after this and try to refigure my runs and everything. Alright, dark blue goes to purple. And we're beginning to see yellow had no cash on hand. I'm not sure if that was a screw up or what, but whatever, they weren't able to build into here. Maybe I forgot to give their mail run, or maybe they bought their train. Yeah, I think they bought their train in the last one and had no cash yet. That makes sense. But anyway, they weren't able to continue their track, so they upgraded this. There was some thought of trying to upgrade this into one of those wacky gray or brown pieces there with the circle in it. But you know, they make money off this initially, and their chance of extending further is pretty much nothing. So that it seemed best to upgrade the track that they're running on for money. Big money, purple, blue, both went forward a couple of spaces, making this rich run through here, and it's getting richer as they extend. It's just about to start getting a little bit more valuable. Eventually it'll probably tag into here and then cut up to this city. That's as good as it goes. It's not going to get up there. Somebody could dot it and cut it off, but I don't know. Yellow's got dot, but blue and purple also have dots, and they have their trains and they have cash, so they may actually snip yellow if they wish to. That puts us here. And now this is the elephant's choice, right? He doesn't have anywhere near the money I thought he'd have here. In fact, he was a couple $100 ahead before. His run, assuming he doesn't upgrade this, brings him 120, 190, 230, 280, 310, 320, 330, 340, $390. Right? Let's make sure. Maybe I do make it. I don't know. That sounds like a huge amount, more than I made last time. Plus 460 is 850. That would be enough for this train. You know, that couple $100. Jesus, maybe I could have made it. What did I make? 40. No, it was only $70 difference. I wouldn't have made this. I needed the third run, I guess. So anyway, since I'm not going to make that, I'm not going to run that extra run. I'm going to throw us to the stock round, and well, that means the BBCIs still aren't worth crap, and the BNRs aren't either. Imagine that. They weren't able to make their purchase yet. Now, he has $730. That means for $100. They make money. Somebody could grab that. Of course, this is where what money's available for inspection and what's not becomes important. I'm going to look to the rules and see what it is. I've been playing hidden money, but I'm a little curious whether they specify. I looked through and found no guidance. I'm going to play that it's completely hidden, which means nobody really knows how much is in here. That's an advantage for the manager, of course, because he does know. He's running the corporation and can look. But these guys, hey, is buying a presidency worthwhile here? What goes on if I do? What am I going to get stuck with? Now, obviously, as soon as the directorate changes, you find out, and then you can dump your shares, and someone else will be able to manage the company, but not actually. But you know, you'll have wasted some share actions, and that could cause some serious problems. All right, time for a break. The amount of effort put into the track laying in this, along with the heat right now, is really killing me. I really despise this stage in the game generally, and this one looks like it's going to be there for quite a while. Well, you can never tell, because there's not all that much money in here. But there are trains to buy, so more money, as we make these runs, more money gets into the companies, and there's a good chance that they'll be able to throw another 1,000 and another 1,000, because there's a lot of money flowing into the companies still. Maybe not, you know, like 150 around, automatically just dropping in there. And we have, what is this? $1,800, almost $2,000 ready to move in off those two trains. So there's a lot of bang. Working my way through the stock round, first three people uninterested in changing their portfolio at all. But now we're at the guy with the BNR. He's got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 certificates. He can buy another BNR, grab himself the presidency. Then he can buy another one, because he has a room again, next time it comes around. Here's the problem. It's going to cost him $100 out of pocket if he does that, I think. Because I think the dues come due, essentially, I don't know when they come due, when he has to pay for that train. That's one of the problems, again, with these rules. If a director takes over, the train must either be purchased at that point or returned to the bank. So he'd have to blow the $100 as soon as he takes the directorship, or else throw the train away. That's a pretty harsh amount of money to pay for those additional certificates. If he doesn't buy it, though, he's going to be passing on essentially 2 rounds of money from those. So we're talking about two shares, really. Maybe more if he does decide to go for the presidency, just because it's going to make good money. So if it's 2, yeah, he'd have to take more. So for 2 shares, we're not terribly interested in the amount of stock value it's gaining. It's only $7 or $8 each of those rounds, unless it makes a lot of money, in which case it'll make double pushes. How much is it making precisely? With a 5 train, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and actually I may be able to make more coming this way. This is 20, no, not for a while. Okay, so with a 5 train, I'm going to be making 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, no, 100, 10, 20, 30, 160, 170, 180, 240, 29 a share. Now if that's 2 additional shares at most, right? 29 times 2 is $58, but that'll be around, and add maybe that stock value, which could be at 29 a share. That's getting close, but not quite enough, right? Now that's 23 a share, so I'm going to go up 2 in the first round and 2 in the second round. So I'm going to be going up quite a bit, actually. And then the third round to here. So I'm going to be making $50 a certificate plus 58 a round. I think it's worth buying that presidency. So I'm going to go ahead with it and pay the extra $100. Now, what does that do to other people? Well, it frees them up to buy it because he'll have just bought that train. And so those certificates may go real quick. So after the... I gotta remember not to speak soon before I push the button. That was noted as I'm getting cut off. That was a quick flurry. BNRs quickly, BBCI is being turned in for BNRs, and you can see the effect on the pool there. And now we're at the guy who's been running the BBCI, and he's got a pretty good question. Does he even want it? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a good company eventually, but right now it's just not making any cash. He knows how much money it has in it. It has this $460. He knows it's going to make money eventually, but it was a mistake to be holding it, given that it didn't make a run last time. Of course, everybody shared in on that. But why make the mistake now? Now, he certainly wants a BNR. There's 2 things that are really questionable in his portfolio, the BBCI and the GIP. The GIP is making crappy money, but at least it's going to continue making money. I think he's going to toss the BBCI as well. For $6, he gets something that runs. And really, everybody who's got room for it will do so, I think. I don't see any advantage to holding the management of it. Well, that $100 bought him the elephant is basically what it came down to. He only got 2 shares because everybody else wants them now. They're good. He didn't think the BBCI president would dump his shares. But, well, now we've got not all the BBCIs in there. In fact, I think this guy is going to be managing the BBCI. That's how I'm going to play it, because here's the thing. I have no idea which of these 2 shares was bought earlier. That's how the game design defines it. you'd have to have numbers on each of the shares to indicate who owned which one when, or something like that, and they're not present. So I'd follow standard XX rules for this, just to be able to avoid trying to keep track of who held a share the longest. This guy, I think, did not. This guy definitely had BBCIs. We could look at the initial share offering and maybe know what people bought, but that's not even clear. It's just not worth figuring out. I'll give this guy the management now. He might be able to misuse it a little bit in favor of his own rail, though. And that's the problem. That's the problem. Whoever has the manager's position can really actually abuse a company a lot. We were worried about that happening here, where the BNR could have gotten dropped into here. He chose not to do it because the BNR is a very good company. But now with only 2 shares and other people holding those 2 shares, hey, maybe he'll make the run for the money and then steal that train and give it to his other company. We'll see. So it's a pity to have to give up this BNR if that's what I'm doing. But, you know, I mean, it's split all over the place. But it finally broke the 30 a share barrier. Nothing else has hit that yet, which is kind of weird. Most XX games seem to produce a lot more money on the runs. The runs here, the early ones are quite high. These initial cities are fairly big. But hooking up a significant number of good cities is pretty hard. You're beginning to see some significant development, however, in the area that green's running in particular, but also black's little areas filling out nicely, etc. Everybody's just upgrading their cities as much as they can, get the last few pennies out of them. What's surprising is, I guess, the boinkers. Because the boinkers get reduced over the game and turned into real cities, which count against your trains, the actual revenue kind of goes down from what you'd expect it to. Now, granted, you know, in real terms it's going up, but proportionally it feels like it should be much higher. We're not seeing those big $50 runs. We also don't see anybody with 2 trains on them, though, yet. So maybe if somebody manages to get a second train, and I think we'll see that. Ouch, crazy harshness here. The owner of the BBCI abandons these track lays that were heading in this direction, which are kind of interesting long-term lays that would get them down there, and upgrades this town. This is going to make some quicker money. There's no question. And these upgrades can increase as I go. I've got a 6 train, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But this dooms the BBCI. It's no longer going to be able to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 now, which was the planned run. But what the hell? I don't need that. I just need it to make its money to score its train, and then that train's going to go over here. And then it can go back in receivership for all I care. Jeez, that's cruel. As we move into the 3rd operating round, with things like the pale blue just skyrocketing ahead. Look at that stock value it's making, because it's making 28 a share, I think, this last time. So that's double the 130. So it keeps cranking. Now it's going to slow down, but purple's also been making those jumps. Poor yellow hasn't. But most of these poor companies are just raking it in. And this guy may well start doing it again after he steals that 6 train. If and when that happens. Well, that is going to happen. We're almost there. Next operating round it gets bought, and then pale blue steals it away, I bet. Let me make sure about that. 28, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20, 21. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. And that's off a little 4 train. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or 4. And they're winning. Purple and blue and pale blue are winning the race down here. You can see yellow gave up and went this way. There's going to be a fight over this space, though. They should have gone into this one, because wherever they end up, somebody's going to throw a town in there and wreck everything to get the dual gauge thing, because they're allowed to play it that way. Whew, boy. Well, at least two more operating rounds coming, and maybe a third one. Unless, of course, the bank runs out before them. But I don't think that's going to happen, because there's a lot of money still coming out. There's some trains that are going to be bought. We'll see. Somewhere through the midway point, not a lot going on here. Just people kind of trying to improve their runs a teeny bit. You can see the BNR building track for the MSM down there. Really, using money that is going to help it get its train after it gets raped of this one. Just lots of little stuff like that going on. But we did stop with the BBCI. That's where I paused, because it finally got its permanent train. Now, it may actually run once. He can't pay out. He can't pay out dividends. There's no point in running. He's just going to keep going back and going back. So he might as well buy it this time, so that he gets more runs over there, because it can't sell out shares as long as the presidency's sitting in here. It can't pay out dividends. It could throw a lot of money into it, which might actually be an interesting idea, simply because he's got a certificate committed to this, and he's not going to be able to get rid of it. There's nothing but BBCI available right now. So the only real question is, okay, well, do I want it to be a viable company? Does everybody have a share? This guy doesn't. This guy does. This guy does not. And that guy does not. So there's quite a few people who don't have a certificate of BBCI, which may mean that it's worth making a run, catching some extra income in here, so that he can buy another train at some point. I don't know. It does make good money. It will make that train quickly, but I don't know if it's quickly enough to deal with that bank, to make it worth not making a second run on the Blues. And that'll be extra stock value maybe on the Blues as well. Tough call. And as we push into the third operating round, the ECR has done its dirty deed to the BBCI. No more train. It paid a little bit more than it had to. I think 55 for it. It only needs to pay 10. Get a little more cash into it, because he is going to be holding the certificate. It just doesn't really see any point to helping that rail at all. And he's built this loop around here for his 6 train. Now he's got to find what he's going to do with his 4 train. That's what this token's for. I've got a 1, 2, and ways to cut through or maybe upgrade up into here. All different options. I'm out of tokens, so I can't really defend things too much. If I build to here, I may get closed out at here, which is okay. That's the good city that I want to aim for, right? You know what's funny? I've been forgetting to upgrade those suckers. Joy. Oops. Yeah, that's $20 extra on each of these runs. A lot of people should have been doing that, and that's just me being careless. Not used to gray track. It shows up in a few games, but I'm usually not comfortable with it. Okay, so we go into the third operating round. This may or may not be the last one. I don't know what the elephant's going to say. I think the elephant's going to want to steal this as soon as possible to increase his revenue on there, and then there's no reason to be holding 2 certificates or 2 shares of the BNR. So he wants to get it as a manager as soon as possible, which means dumping his share. That's going to transfer the managership over here to our erstwhile investor who owns no corporations. He'll actually... Oh, no. The directorship will go over there. Because I have no idea who's got the oldest share. And there's no way of me remembering that, so I just fall back, right? I've said that. Okay, the EIR paid out 30 a share. Nice big money, and you can see its stock value is rising, but it's not going to make it in time. That bank's too low. But it did make enough money off its 170 each time it makes a run from its mail runs to buy a 5 train. And now that 5 train can run an extra city. Okay, that's not a lot of extra money, but it means the 4 train is available for the GIP to take, and the GIP really needs it. The GIP's been running this crappy little metered train. Now it can break out and hit into Delhi or elsewhere perhaps, but we'll see. And indeed, the GIP running only 13 bucks a share at this point, but it looks like their run's going to be Delhi to Calcutta, which is pretty sweet. That's what the EIR's been running, and this is actually perhaps better with all the doinks. It'll probably break over 30. The only danger here is these guys can be upgraded to green cities. That's the 87 track. I don't know if there's anything available to upgrade. It needs 102s to upgrade. 102s don't seem to exist. So they're the brown cities. So I guess he's safe right now. So he can just blast through this and move into there. Conceivably, he could throw a dot in here, but he'd have to make one lousier run to do that. It might be worth it to cut the MSM down. He doesn't have any shares of MSM, and a lot of other people do. I think that is a dicky move, but it might be the best option rather than running for the better money into Calcutta. Certainly slamming other people is always fun. And for the NWS, the next company, only paid out 21 a share. Again, looking more at the share value than anything else on those suckers, but they're in for a little bit of a treat too, having opened up their metered trains again. Only 430 bucks. They managed to do that by running their mail run here, which gives them 120 a turn. So you can see how quickly that could kind of pile up. They'd only been taking 80 a turn most turns because they're getting the higher stock value. But this turn, it was worth doing. Not quite a swallow. I mean, it's only shaving a buck off the share, off the per share income. Now to the BNR. Okay, the BNE or BNR runs for whatever. It's 30 bucks or whatever. Nice, good run, but it's doomed. The BCBI, without a train, well, they make an interesting choice. They go for they can't do that, can they? Yes, they can. They're still in receivership. They go for a 3M train. Why? Because they can run that sucker down here. They're no longer looking to be a big producer. The bank's not big enough to do that, and I'm holding a certificate of it. I'm not going to get anything else. What the hell? I might as well make money off of it. There are a lot of people who don't have it. That's going to make me money eventually. This share has not been good except for what it's done for my other company. Over to the MSM, well, they buy the BNR's train. Now, they paid a big pile of money for it. I don't remember how much, but there is probably close to 400 bucks they paid. There's 800 here. That's almost enough for this. So he's going to hold his president's certificate of it because he gets to rebuy the 5 train. It'll cost him 30 bucks. That's a hefty fee, especially when there's 3 people holding 2 shares of it. But the other option was just to lose ground to the other people. Now, the worry is, of course, the EIR player is probably the guy he's competing with the most to try to win. But he's also competing with this fella. He's not doing badly at all and hasn't been juggling stuff around. I really have no idea who's in the lead. I know some people who are not doing well, but it's tough to tell. For me, because of the lack of experience in the game. Now we'll be looking at the SIR, which looks like it's just in sort of this stable stasis running down here. It may be picking up another train though. He's got some cash on it. I don't know how much. And then of course the ECR, which should be making some kick-ass money here. May even make over the 16.6 times 2. It's got to make 34, and I think it should be able to do that with 2 trains in this environment, but we'll see. Well, the SIR didn't do a lot. They dropped a dot here. They really don't have much they can do. They upgraded some track here with the hope of hitting one of these cities, because right now they're running a 4M train. If they can get up to here, they can add this and this, because they're just hitting 3 cities right now. This is not a city. It's just a track crossing special India Rails type piece. Then over to the ECR, 55 a share. It was sitting 1, 2, 3 down at 166. Up 3 spaces. Wow. It's now one of the top rated stocks, plus it's pulling in humongous money. And it's been pulling in pretty good money before that. This is what raping a company can do for you. Just the boost in stock value is incredible. I mean, look at what they did. This would have been the normal. So we just gained 38 bucks a share in addition to that big 55 run by making that huge run. In fact, this is the kind of game, as with 29, where maybe you want to actually shift your bonus rails back and forth if you can, so you can get that big multiplier effect. Because now, well, 55 I'll still be going up to next time, but eventually this could reach a high enough stock value. If I could strip a train off, move it to the other one, and start getting doubled and tripled scores off the other train, off the other company as well, I'd be boosting my stock prices. So there's all kind of weird little stuff you can do in these suckers. That is the end of 3 operating rounds. So now we're on the elephant. And the elephant has an interesting option here. BBCI, I don't want that presidency. I really don't. If I buy another share, I get the presidency over here. And I don't know how much money is on it. And I'm already going to be blowing 30 bucks on this to hold this presidency. So what do I do? Because here's the problem. I don't have to buy this train, but I can. And I might as well buy it now as much as next turn. It doesn't make a difference. The shares aren't going to change position, really. As long as I hold the presidency and try to run the company, it doesn't really make a difference. I can't move another train here. We're only allowed, I think, 2 trains per company. Now that we're in the final stage, that's usually the case. Yep. So the only question comes to, I have room for 1 more certificate. I would like a BBCI. So I think I have to let it run another operating round to see if this sucker goes. Now that may kill the bank. That may be the end of the game. If it is, it is, and then I don't make money off my BBCI, but at least I don't lose money off of having bought one and see it fall back a space. I doubt that the cash for the couple of shares that might be bought at this point can make a difference to anyone. So on to yet another operating round. Serious payouts by the EIR and the GIF. The GIF actually made 43 a share. I don't remember what the EIR made. I think it was close to 50 with its nice track. But the EIR is running this, which is pretty damn sweet too, with only a 4 train plus this, which isn't terribly good. What's this 5 train with? 110, 20, 170, 200. Sorry. 240, 250, 260, 330. That's not so good. Yeah, so that 43 a share. Two trains is always the big thing to do, but I thought the EIR actually rang up a bigger bell. I'm not sure it's going to end here. I got over $1,000 in this. I think it's pretty likely because I've only gone through 2 of the companies and already came close to 1,000. So, but there's 1,000 just sitting right here. There were more 500s than I thought there were in the game, and it's maybe kind of close. I got a bunch of other bills to throw in. If if the bank ends up breaking. So I should actually be able to have enough bills to give everybody their cash payouts. I hope. Otherwise I have to use tokens and stuff. Okay, forget about the BNR. Threw another $830 in. Only 30 from the player's pocket. That I think is probably enough to prevent the bank from breaking on this round. Oops. That's a bonus for him. He gets to buy a share of BPCI, which probably will produce something. And it didn't break. There's still a good deal of money in there. It'll go this next time. But we do go to another stock round, which means people get a shot at picking up the BBCIs, our running company now. And the ECR ran for 57 despite Yellow's best efforts to kind of break it. We had a little blue in here and it's making really good money. That was two more spaces. You can see it's right up there with the top companies in the game. Well, the next video is going to be a lot shorter, but that's cool because people like to watch the wraps. I don't know who's winning. The bank not breaking really helps the people holding the ECRs. Those ECRs are really cranking, and you can see the distance they're making. Well, next time he's going to jump up 2 more. He's going to be right up there with the very top, and the EIR can't do that. I don't think this guy's not holding. He's not going to be hitting a 56 this time, so he's only moving up 1. So, yeah, we're not. The GIP is making good ground with its 2 trains. It may be able to do a double, but that's about it. And it makes the BNR, the $30 spent on the BNR, kind of reasonable too. So this guy's kind of happy. He would have rather just not bought the train if it wouldn't hurt his stock value because there isn't anything over here. All right, up this long one goes.